In 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 and 2, it says, I exhort therefore that first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you think that when the Apostle Paul said this, he believed that those kings during his time were godly and honest? No. Whether they be kings of the nation of Israel after Herod, or they are the Caesars who are rulers of the Roman Empire. But still, Apostle Paul had a wish. And what was that wish? He said, we ought to pray. We ought to supplicate them for God. We ought to intercede for them. And we ought to give thanks, not only made for all men, but for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. And during that time, they were living in persecution. The believers were being persecuted both by the nation of Israel and by the Roman Empire. But still, he is asking all believers, you pray for those kings. You pray for all of those who are in authority. You intercede for them. Why? That we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. And when it comes to our society also, I am praying for the president that will give us the freedom to worship God, that will give us the freedom to preach the Word of God, that will give us the freedom to live godly lives, that will give us the freedom to live honest lives. A president that will respect our freedom. That is what Apostle Paul is speaking about.